Hello, happy Sunday. I need a new greeting. Happy Sunday sounds, I don't know, something, but it's play date time and I am very excited for this, even though I'm in a bit of a mellow mood today, so we'll see what happens as play date progresses. But it looks like we have a ton of people waiting in here already, which is super exciting. So let me get my hellos. Gracia's here, first one in today. Hi, Gracia. Emily, hello. Val, Becca, Simon. Let's see. Chatting. Sandra's here. Hello. Type and Light Moon. Oh, I thought somebody who's grumbling. Mustn't grumble, Becca. Trying to tell Becca not to grumble. Come on. Mendy's here. Hi, Mendy. And let's see. I think I said hi to Emily. Yeah. Okay. I'm doing all right here. Good morning. Longman Tarot. Hello, Richard. Let's see. What else do we have here? Sage Advice Shared. Hi. Marina is here. Oh, you guys are really chatty today. And I wonder if our Elle has woken up yet. I woke her up. I'm gonna admit it. I woke up. I was like, "You're about to miss it." Jackie, Jacaranda. Hello, Jackie. Elizabeth. Hi. Patrice. Patrice is for serious. Trying to manifest that tower. She's been on a mission lately. Let's see, who else do we have here? There is Elle right here in the chat. Proof that she's awake. Let's see, who else do we have here? I'm scrolling. I think I've said hi to almost every. Okay, there's Susie and Lori, Kathy. Hello. Let's see, who else do we have here? You guys are so chatty. I love it. Okay, I know I've said you're chatty, but that is not a criticism. Let's see. Did I just see Chris? I think I saw Chris. Elemental Cartomancy. My chat just jumped. I did see Chris. And then we have Psychically Yours and Jonathan. Aloha. Jack's Tarot Tales, hi. Selkie's here, hi Selkie. Kimberly is here, hi. Gaia's new son, hi Oliver. See, this time I recognized your new channel name. Jenna, hi Jenna. Oh, I'm sorry about your migraine. Okay, we'll understand if you're quiet. I'll try not to talk too loud, but you know I always do. Donna's here. Oh my gosh, Julie's here. Oh, Brant's here. Hey, Brant. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry if the chat jumped and I missed anyone. I'm still waking up too. Miss Christian is here. And am I almost to the end? I think I made it to the end. Oh, Sean's here. Hi, Sean. Okay, if anybody came in and the chat jumped on me, I am so sorry, but we have 39 people here already. So let's really quick, let's recap. Shane! Hi. That would be my son. All right. So last week we had the Eight of Pentacles, which I thought was a great play date. I loved diving into this card. Every once in a while, there's just a card that really just sort of seems to inspire a lot of conversation. And we were on the shortened timeline last week because I participated in that chat that Queen Asset hosted over on her channel Oya's Girl, which was great and long and great. And I saw a lot of you here. So thank you for those of you who came and joined us for that. Really appreciate it. I still have to watch it back and kind of read through all the chat because there was a lot of information to absorb. So maybe that's where my Eight of Pentacles really started, right? Was really digging in and figuring out what work it is that I need to do. And I'm a little overwhelmed because I don't feel like I've accomplished all of these or completed all these pentacles. I feel like this is my to-do pile. I'm not sure if that resonates for anyone else. And so you said you got it in a reading. Yeah, you're still processing, Simon. It was a lot, and I was, talking to somebody last night, good friend of mine, you know who you are because you're here, and we were talking about just how much there is to process from that video and really kind of looking at it from all these different sides, right? So I will say I wasn't really good at keeping this card in mind throughout the week. I totally didn't even do the activity, and it was kind of quiet in our Tarot Playdate Facebook group this week too. So I have a feeling I'm kind of not the only one, but I'll be interested to see what we get this week. I know that Patrice is very much trying to manifest the tower with Elle's encouragement, I think. Yeah, there was a lot to take in, Emily. That is definitely for sure. Hi, Wendy. Nice to see you. So, as we do every week, shall we gather our list of questions? And last week, I also had to shorten the number of questions. Oh, Elle said you got that card yesterday in a spread, but can't remember what the spread was about. That's why we write those things down, Elle. So we gather a list of questions, and last week there were quite a few questions that I wasn't able to take because we only had 3. So this week we're back up to 5, and I've kind of a little something extra planned because we are at the halfway point. We have been doing this. This is our 39th week of Tarot Playdate, working through the 78 cards of the tarot. It feels like it's gone super fast. It also feels like we've been doing this for a long time. But I'm really glad we still have 39 weeks to go with this particular version of Tarot Playdate. You know, we got to have the sequel, right? There's going to be a sequel to Tarot Playdate. But so I'm really excited about that. So we get a little something, a little twist planned at the end of Playdate. So if you stick around and are here for the whole thing, you'll see what I mean. And it was our Elle's idea who decided to put that together. All right, so as I was talking, I think, oh my gosh, do I have 5 questions? No, I maybe have 4, but you guys are bringing it. So let's see here. We have from Emily, as I'm just yammering on today, how can we loosen our need for control in all areas of our lives this week? How can we loosen our need for control in all areas of our lives this week? Now, if you are a person that when you hear that question thinks, I don't need control, that question's not for me, maybe pay attention anyway. Sometimes that's our little shadow poking up and being in denial. You never know. I'm sure we all have ways we like to control things, right? All right, so from Richard Longman Tarot, with the dreadful ravaging wildfires in mind, how can we douse our own rampaging fears this week? Oh, how can we douse? I love that the way you phrase that. I'm just going to write down that last part, but the word douse should trigger that it was based on the wildfires, which things are cooling down here, but the air is still very smoky, smoggy. It was quite intense yesterday. So how can we douse our, wow, so we have to douse fears, release need for control. Boy, you guys are trying to help Patrice out, aren't you? Oh my goodness. Okay, we're gonna have a card, I think, today. Rampaging fears this week. All right, card number 3, question from Kathy. How do we deal with the air quality without resentment? How do we deal with the air? So now that's not necessarily a thing that everybody is experiencing. So is there a way that we might be able to broaden the scope of that question so that people who are not here in the dealing with the wildfires? I'm going to think on that for a minute. I hope you don't mind because I like the question, but I want to, how can we deal with maybe the uncomfortable somethings that we're experiencing right now? Do you get where I'm going with that, Kathy? I won't take another question yet, but tell me what you think. Maybe there's a way we can broaden that scope just a little bit. Okay. Oh, you got a bottle of wine to celebrate halfway point. Okay, so from Jonathan, who gave up his question last week, we have, how can I be open to listening to other points of view while still honoring my own? Oh, I love that. How can I be open? Sometimes it can be real easy to sort of be swayed in ways that we lose ourselves sometimes in trying to be open. That's a good question. Others' points of view while still honoring my own. Okay. Me own. I've suddenly become Irish. All right, let's see here. Let's see. We probably had a bunch of people. I think T-Cat joined us. Hi, T-Cat. Anybody else? Jamie. Hi, Jamie. I still only have 3 questions as I'm kind of waiting to work on how we want to phrase Kathy's. So I'm still going to need one more. I'm scrolling to see if Kathy helped me. How can we deal with things out of our control without resentment? Perfect, Kathy. Thank you. Thanks for letting me challenge you on that. I really appreciate that. Okay, how can we, and I don't know if there's another question after Kathy's, but if there isn't, I need one more. How can we deal with things? So we kind of have 2 control-centered questions, which is interesting, but different takes on it, without resentment. We already got the Emperor, right? All right, let's see. Oh, I need one more question. Anyone? Did I miss one? I don't think I missed one. Oh, thank you, Becca. I was just going to say, okay, I'll come up with one. How can we choose our words more wisely? That's a really good question as well. And a tricky thing to do. And thank you, Oliver. You were bringing a question too. I really appreciate you all coming through for me. You always, always do. Okay. Are we ready to shuffle? All right, let me set our 8 of Pentacles to the side. And let's get to shuffling our exactly in half. No, it'll be exactly in half after today. So, all right. So from Emily, we have, how can we loosen our need for control in all areas of our lives this week? From Richard, Longman Tarot. I wrote Long Tarot Me. Wow, I'm on a roll today. Longman Tarot. That was very strange. How can we douse our own rampaging fears this week? From Jonathan, how can I be open to listening to others' points of view while still honoring my own? From Kathy, how can we deal with things out of our control without resentment? And from Becca, how can we choose our words more wisely? Is anyone sensing a theme in these questions? I feel like we are a group of people sort of struggling this week with a lot of emotions. So it's either cups or the tower, right? But okay, one more time. How can we loosen our need for control in all areas of our lives this week? How can we douse our own rampaging fears this week? How can I be open to listening to others' points of views while still honoring my own? How come I can't shuffle? How can we deal with things out of our control without resentment? And how can we choose our words more wisely? Name change coming up. You don't want to be Long Tarot mean. All right. Oh, this also makes sense, does it not, in the context of the questions? All right, so no tower, but the 9 of Wands. I feel like that's so appropriate. We all probably want, I don't know, I'm struggling not to like want to jump ahead and start answering all your questions. But we need to remember we are diving in to study this card. All right, what do you think? Me pulling that out right away. So first thoughts here. We have Emily with yes, so appropriate. Sage advice. I live in this energy too much, right? So everybody was predicting that tower was going to show up. Simon doesn't want it. Hi, Red Bean Bean. Nice to see you. So what do you think? Oh, boo, says Elle, because she's just disappointed that it's not the tower. Simon says our efforts will pay off and we will be rewarded. It is very appropriate. Cam Corby, hi, you're new channel name to me here. I've been thinking this too. Very 9 of Wands time we live in here now. Yes. Psychically yours says this one likes to come up for me a lot. Chris says it's the card. Are you talking about the power? Or the tower? It's the card that should send you from a great height. So I'd be quite happy to give that a miss. This is like after the tower. If you've survived the tower, right? Which we all can. Emily says, well, it's so defensive, and whilst he is powerful, he perhaps could be more powerful if he loosened his grip on his wand there, right? But would he or would he fall over? Right? Believe in a better future, says Simon. Right? Okay, so kind of initial meaning. So Simon's kind of throwing some out. You know, to me, there's sort of two ways I often look at this card when it first comes up. One, it's just like, phew, like I have just been through it. I am battle worn. I am exhausted. I am tired, right? There's that. But then also there's that he's still standing. I still have, there may be more to do, but I can get through it. I just need to stay the course, right? I need to believe in my own strength and power, right? So there's kind of like this, I always kind of get a feeling of exhaustion from this, but we still haven't even hit that 10 of Wands yet. So we kind of have to keep that in mind as well. So let me see what you guys are saying here. So as you're doing that really quick too, before I start reading all these, let's get our gorgeous melanated classic version of this card out, and we can look at that with it as well, because the coloring is just always so gorgeous in this card. Very similar imagery here, as you can see. All right, so Elizabeth says, wounded, experienced, guarded, inner reserves. Donna, hi Donna. I see him as worn out after a long struggle. I identify. Psychically yours, boundaries, overcoming adversary, taking time to heal, the last obstacle before success or completion. Simon says, look after yourself and take care of any old wounds. Oh, I like that one. Yeah, I figured you were talking about the tower. All right, let's see here. Jackie, you've come through a lot, but you made it. Neem, hi Neem, says he's exhausted but not sitting it out, right near the finish line. Julie says he always looks so worn out, but determined. Mendy, great card for the questions. Lots of defensive and overwhelming vibes, but also feels like courage and perseverance. Yes. Becca says under that bandage, healing is taking place. Jonathan, he's using the wands as a wall built up to separate himself from the outside world, from people who may serve to harm him. Conversely, he may be simply thinking that someone is seeking to harm him, right? Could there be some paranoia in this card? Susie says not quite letting go yet. Simon says don't become defensive as a result of facing hurdles and oppositions. Ooh. Wendy, how much more can I take? I am exhausted but determined to battle it out. Right? It's like, you know, I always kind of feel like there's a bit of a leaning on this wand. It's like, just hold me up. Like if I lean against a wall sometimes when I'm extra exhausted, it's like, just keep me from falling over, please. Right? Chris says, 9 of Wands, high fire energy, and this guy's clearly been burned along the way, but the card has promise of success on the horizon, nearly there. Emily, I think he's ready though. He knows there's more, but it's coming from this fear mentality. It's like survival instinct and he will prevail, but in this mindset, he may experience psychological wounds. Sure. Sage advice shared says, I read it as stop running in saving people sometimes. Am I missing? I'm not quite sure I followed that. Stop running. Or is it maybe to stop saving people? I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be dense. I'll drink some more tea and get more caffeinated here. Wendy, sometimes if my eyes focus on the wands behind the figure, I feel it is saying the worst is over and time to rest and heal and build up strength. Ooh, I like that. You still have one last problem to solve, says Jack's Tarot Tales. Your wounds do not define you, Simon. Yes, I like that. Elizabeth, think back to a time when you've been in a similar situation. What lessons did you learn and what can you apply now? L, the 9 is tired of submitting to the oppressive paradigm that drowned their energy. They took matters into their own hands and built a fortress. Oh, interesting. Simon, you will be able to develop your strength of character to help you face other challenges. Oh, so running in to save people, take care of yourself. Thank you. I knew I was missing something. I appreciate the clarification. Jonathan, the 8 wands behind him represent the 8 of wands. Here, however, the wands are planted firmly in the ground rather than in the movement we see, right? Communication has been halted. This can be a symbol that the man in the card is, and he left us with a cliffhanger, in no mood to talk, to express, or to vent. He would rather deal with the issue on his own instead of letting others in. Interesting. And now I know, so Elle, were you reading just by any chance out of the Melanated Classic Tarot? Because we often have decided that we really like how this particular book is written. Let me see here if there's anything really good. Oh, not 8 of Wands. 9 of Wands, Jen. I was like, the Magician. What are you talking about? Let's see. So this is kind of like according to this book, so I'm looking at the Melanated Classic Little White Book, which is great. Pick up the High Priestess Moon card and place it above Temperance. Together they create the 9 of Wands. High Priestess above Temperance. We're going to have to think about that. Together they create the 9 of Wands. Put the 9 of Wands next to those 2 cards. The High Priestess has come to visit Temperance. Okay, I'm getting a little confused there. So probably because we can't look at those cards very easily. So it says, if we look at the 9 of Wands card, we see a man with 8 wands behind him. He holds the 9th wand. His head is bandaged, and he looks fearfully to his left. If the 8 wands behind him represent perfect spiritual balance with the Magician's help, well, that's interesting. Then the 9th wand represents his internal fear that he won't be able to do it without the Magician. Somewhere inside, he feels unable to pass this spiritual test alone. This is why his head is bandaged, because his idea of himself is bruised. That's really interesting. So it seems like throughout this book, they're kind of bringing in the major arcana elements into each of these minor cards. So that's really interesting. Good morning, Marge. Hello. Oh, Leanne, that's right. I do that every freaking week. Hello, Leanne. Oh my gosh. All right, that's because I'm trying to read this chat so quickly. Jonathan says the main themes of this card are defense, protection, will, stamina, determination, and on the negative side, paranoia. The bandage on his head signals that he has been wounded in a previous battle. Regina Tarot says, hi, Regina Tarot. Sometimes I see this card as hypervigilance after a trauma. Oh, I can see that too. It's like you're on guard. It's like, okay, when's the next wave coming? What's going to happen next, right? Simon says, the gray earth, positive, neutral location, removed from prejudice and habit, negative side, apathy, unconscious action. So starting to dive into the symbols in the cards. Longman Tarot says not long tarot me, says those wands are growing into trees, showing the palisade is old and made by his ancestors. His last stand is to protect the legacy of the past. And then Chris had said, which is potentially what he is defensive of. He doesn't want to let go. Oh, interesting. Emily, exactly. He knows there's so much more ahead, so he's holding it together for survival. Jonathan, right now he is trying to recover and regroup himself. He is using his time to heal and to come back to full health. So let's take a nice close-up look. See if you spot anything you don't usually see in this card, because that's always fun. So we still have lots of growth on these wands in this card, and maybe we can talk about what that means in the context of this particular card. He does look very fearful or on watch, doesn't he? Almost, it's like for a minute, it almost looked like that wand was attached to him. And then we do have sort of this barren, somewhat hilly, I guess not so much mountain, but somewhat hilly landscape behind him. And then this is our version. Now, one thing that I noticed that's different, I don't know if you guys notice it. I love that you can see his expression so clearly on this card. But the one thing that I noticed that's different between these two cards, anybody else? What's different? So to me, it's these clouds, but they're not stormy clouds. They're poofy clouds. But does that bring a different element when you look at the melanated classic version of this card? Yeah, my malware thing wants to keep coming up. All right, so let's see what you guys are saying here. His eyes are closed, question mark? Yeah, they do look somewhat closed here, or they're just shifted, right? Let's take a look. Focus again. My camera always does like really well the first time, and it gets all stingy after that. See, they don't look closed to me. They do look like he's looking that away, and then I feel like that's way more clear in this version, for sure. He looks so tense, says Emily. Is he looking behind him, right? So is, if he's looking to the left, do we think about that as behind? Is it kind of like looking out of the corner of his eye, like what's coming up behind me, right? Is he on guard? Kathy says, you have the courage and stamina to complete the task at hand. So noticing his eyes, that seems to be drawing a lot of us in today, which is different. Oh, so the eyes are different and the clouds, right? TCAT says this card is about having some backbone and endurance, even if you feel like you're not making any progress whatsoever. It's like the final push to get you closer to your goal. And this can be the point where it's really easy to give up too, right? It's like, ugh, and then we just fall just short. That happens to me all the time. I will get very close to my goals, and then I'll be so exhausted, or for whatever reason discouraged. And then rather than embracing this and pushing through and recognizing that I can finish it, sometimes it can be easy to sort of lay down this wand, right? And then we don't get to where it is we're trying to get to. Let's see. Yes, it's sunny weather in the melanated. See, I feel like it's beautiful weather here too. Here I don't know. I don't know that I see a lot of difference in the mood that these two backgrounds set. If these were stormy clouds, that would be very interesting and very different, I think. All right, so Simon's giving us some more information on the symbols here. So the bandage, negative side can be false thinking, positive, prepared and aware. That's interesting about the bandage. Huh. Is he standing on a platform? So I read somewhere recently that, and I know I've heard people talk about this before. In a lot of the Rider-Waite-Smith images here that Pixie drew, you find this kind of gray platform, or some people have said, is that kind of a stage? Or, and talking about why so many of the figures or characters are standing on kind of these gray slabs or platforms or whatever it might be. I know there's been some thought about that. If anybody else has more information on that, feel free to share in the chat here. Patrice says it looks like year 2020, waiting for the next disaster, even as we hang on to get through the current crisis, right? I bet we're all really relating to how this guy looks like he feels, right? Susie says, I don't understand chakras, but that bandage covers his third eye? Question mark. It could be, or just a little above, right? I feel like, the third eye is more like right here, but yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about. Jackie says it looks like he's looking over his shoulder. Jonathan, the esoteric title of the Nine of Wands is Lord of Great Strength. Nine of Wands is about not giving up and keeping to your goal and purpose. His great strength is found inside of him. Within the element of fire's desire and passion, it is through jump in chat. It is through conflicts when we are able to find our great strength. Emily says, to me, it looks like in the RWS, he's looking above and around, whereas in the Melanated Classic, he looks like he's looking at an actual embodied enemy to his right. Yeah, this one seems more focused in the look to me. Lisa Dunn, I don't know if I said hi to you, but hello. So Val says, the landscape is green in the Melanated too. It is just such a beautiful day, and the man looks more secure. In this one, you think? You think he looks more secure in that one? Which Sandra agrees with. Donna says, it looks like he has built a fortification on high ground, right? So maybe he's giving himself that higher ground advantage, right? One of the more negative aspects expressed by this card is paranoia, the feeling that someone is always trying to harm you. This can cause you to become over-defensive and close yourself off. Jackie says, I have read that Pamela was previously employed to paint theater and stage scenery, which would make sense, right? That her perspective would always be on a stage. And that's kind of what I was getting at, not very succinctly. So thank you. Regina says, now that someone mentioned the chakras, he's protecting the throat and heart chakras with the positioning of his hands. Oh, that's interesting. The wand itself could be representing the Hera line. I'm not sure I know what that is, so feel free to share. Mindy says, wasn't that because Pixie was a big theater person? She did theater sets and such. I feel like I read that somewhere, but I could be wrong. Yeah, see, you guys are getting that glimmer of what I read. I really need to get that big book about Pixie. And then probably if I were to go back and watch Simon's Tarothon video, I bet he talked about it because he was giving us a history of Pixie, which is really cool. Jonathan, this also turns things hostile and makes you lash out. The sense of paranoia is linked to the past wounds we mentioned. You have been hurt before, thus you feel you will be harmed again. And I have to say, this has been actually pretty prevalent for me lately. I've had some shadowy things I've had to deal with based on prior experiences and some things that are reminding me of those experiences, which could be something different. But because there are things that remind me of that, I feel myself getting into this defensive position, like, ooh, is this happening again? How much do I need to prepare myself? And that can be very exhausting for something that's not even actually happening, right? So Sean says, enduring many different challenges, knowing there are more to come. Longman Tarot, maybe the ninth wand has fallen over and hit him on the head. Maybe he's worried the rest might fall on him. Perhaps. See, Simon did. He confirmed. Yeah. So that's probably where I heard it, Simon. I'll give you the due credit. Emily says, yes, absolutely resonates very deeply right now. Donna asked, does the left hand being higher than the right have a meaning? Does it? It might, right? Just kind of the way that he's holding. I did like that concept of him like protecting certain chakras, though. I thought that was intriguing to me. Regina says in Reiki, the hairline or Reiki is the right way to say that. Ooh, showing my noob. In Reiki, the hairline is an energy line connecting from the earth to the cosmos that runs through the body. So is that why we always see the chakras depicted in that way, like in that sort of linear fashion? I mean, besides the fact that they're running through the body, but interesting. I need to do more studying on that. Perhaps he was injured in the swift journey of the Eight of Wands. Yeah, or they all banged right into him if he wasn't watching and if he wasn't prepared, right? So, all right. So I think we've gotten a good, somebody just said something a minute ago. Oh, the position of his hands. I just wanted to see, and I know Simon's been giving us information out of this book, as he always, because he takes his job very seriously, to present some information from the Ultimate Guide to the Rider-Waite-Smith for us when we're diving into the symbols. But I wonder if anybody says anything about, okay, so number 3 is the position of the hands. Let's see what the book says. One thing at a time, take hold with both hands, handling things, give a hand, hands on, literally grasp something. So not necessarily in how they are in relation to one another. The negative side of this could represent insecurity, not letting go, holding on for dear life, which really seems to resonate very loudly with me today. So sometimes I feel like I am just holding on for dear life. Jonathan says, ask yourself, why am I so defensive? Are you attacking people who are trying to help? You may need time to heal and recover, so take time to regroup. Overall, the Nine of Wands tells you not to give up. I usually get that message pretty loudly from this card for sure. TCAD says, this card tells about a goal or situation at hand that requires you to find strength through your values and beliefs. Oh, you have this now, Jonathan. Yeah, it's a handy one, isn't it? So are we ready to start looking at some alternative cards and answering some questions? All right, let me know if you have any other thoughts on these as I'm pulling out additional cards. I'm going to move this guy over here as I always do. We start creating the pile behind me that always starts off really organized, and by the end of play day, it's a disaster. All right, so I'm just gonna pull the deck that's closest to me today. So my first alternative deck, randomly selected from my deck collection as per usual, is the 78 Tarot Mythical. Yeah, the Mythical. I also have the Elemental. So Tarot of the Legendary. So this is a collaborative deck by 78 Tarot. And so every card is done by a different artist for anyone who maybe doesn't know that. So it's always kind of fun to see when these decks come up in Tarot Playdate, because you don't even really know which artist is going to appear. All right. Oh, this is really beautiful. Oh, I'm excited to see what you guys think about this card. Okay. Sorry. Sometimes I give it away with my excitement in advance. And I'm also going to keep the book out because we get to hear a bit from the artist. So I'm going to find my page before I show you the card, just because it'll make it so I'm not doing it one-handed later, which is easier for me. Okay, apparently wands are in the back in this book, even though I order them in the front. All right, I have that kind of ready to go. So here is the Nine of Wands. think I might have just said 8, but here's the 9 of Wands from the 78 Tarot Mythical. Let me get you a nice close-up look here. So you see those wands in the background there. And then you can also see the artist's name, Soma, it looks like. So that one that looks like I can't get myself into too much trouble trying to pronounce. I wonder if it says anything about this artist. So this is Japanese. So I'm going to guess that this artist probably is Japanese, but don't quote me on that without doing the research. What do you think? All right. I'm going to see if I missed anything in the chat, but I love Kitsune, asks Julie. Yes. So in Japanese mythology and culture, Kitsune, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, means fox. The Kitsune are shapeshifters who take the form of a fox, and the legends that tell two very different tales. They are good creatures, protective messengers who bring luck and ward off evil spirits. Or they are tricksters, evil even, who turn into human form to seduce humans, even feeding off of them. Beware. The cunning willing to do whatever it takes side of the Kitsune make this an ideal concept for this card. All right. Oh, yeah. So Shane knows. I'm not surprised at all that you know this, Shane. Am I pronouncing that right? Am I saying that correctly for those of you who know what this is? So please correct me if I'm not right there. So everybody's loving this. Beautiful card, beautiful card. The colors are very calm and beautiful to me. So here, the card's story by Soma, the Kitsune represent optimism, determination, and the strength to overcome adversity. The Kitsune's personal power is the ability to tap into the experience, skills, and fearlessness that we already possess to succeed. And I'm seeing a yes, which I'm hoping means I'm pronouncing it correctly. Nobody's yelling at me, so that's a good sign. They caution us to stay sharp, take note of what's around us that may be of use as we brace ourselves for the next battle. It is, after all, a fox who uses her cunning and wiles to overcome the most difficult of tasks. So look around, gather your resources, tools, and equipment and connections. For the most cunning, win not by brute strength alone, but by thinking outside the box. Think like a fox. Ah, I love this card. I maybe need to pull this deck out again and work with it soon. So I have the elemental, but not the mythical. It's so stunning. Yeah, and here are the backs, by the way, for anybody who hasn't seen this. So still lots of bling, not quite as much as that very gold elemental. This card is much more gentle in their approach. Yeah, so what do you think about kind of what you're seeing here about the landscape? To me, she doesn't look as exhausted so much. Oh, there's her tail. I hadn't even noticed that before, right? I don't know, that there's something about the way that she's looking that feels a little bit sad to me. I don't know. Maybe she's sad that she's gone through the ordeal that she has. I'm not quite sure. Let's see. Chris says she's still standing her ground, but she doesn't have the same defensive, almost paranoid feel that the lad in RWS has. Lovely card. Yes. Emily says she is calm and centered, confident and strong in her power and in her wisdom. Oh, yes. Jonathan notes that she's on a high cliffside. Strength and position, though, is the smoke giving away her position. It is, but maybe the battle is done and maybe it doesn't matter. L, it's like she's accepting that it's part of life's journey, right? Maybe that's what it is. It's kind of like, okay, I had to do this. It sucks, but I made it through, right? Susie says the dress must be heavy, but she seems like she's moving forward. Interesting. Kathy, I wonder why she's looking down. Is it because she is alone? Yeah, that's the thing. Like the way that she's looking is really making me think. And maybe when we go to answer our questions, maybe that will come up for us. Let's see. Chris says, oh, is that where Pokemon? What did Shane say something that I missed? Oh, I am pronouncing it right. I did miss Shane's comment. Kitsunes grow wiser and more powerful the older it is, often gaining more tails, up to 9, interesting, to show for it. Oh, all right then. So does that kind of come into, it's funny because I was just talking about the concept of like karmic reincarnation, right? It's like, you know, do we come back to relive for those who believe in this or who have been thinking about it, do we come back and relive our lives until we've learned the lessons that we've learned? And it's interesting too, because you think about that whole concept of the cat that has 9 lives. I don't know. It's all starting to come together in an interesting form in my brain right now. So thank you for sharing that. Oh, and then you reposted it. So thank you for that. Leave it to mom to skip me again. I went back and found you. Emily says, yes, it seems like she knows and understands so much it's almost painful to her, right? And oftentimes with knowledge can come sadness, right? We can be overwhelmed by that. Yeah, Shane, how many times have you missed a comment that I've made in your chat? So our first question that we had was from Emily, which was, how can we loosen our need for control in all areas of our lives this week? Ooh, shots fired, says Oliver. Yeah, he did tag me. Like how I missed the orange. But it's like if I look away at just the right moment, Okay, but let's answer Emily's question. How can we loosen our need for control in all areas of our lives this week? So, especially like with this card, how can we loosen our need for control? Sounds like I love Shane at the mall. I used to have nightmares about that. I used to have nightmares that I would go somewhere and leave Shane in a crib somewhere where he shouldn't be alone when he was a baby. It's like triggered. Oh my gosh. All right. Oh, I thought that was Chris that said that, but that was Neem that said that. See, my eyeballs are not working today, Shane. Don't take it personally. Oh, I saw earlier too, Donna said maybe she is signaling to send a message with the smoke, right? So maybe. All right, back when I was trying to get lost. So, Cat of 9 Tails, whip, pain, and challenges. Ooh, interesting, Sean. All right, anybody have? Okay, so Kathy says so we're answering Emily's question. We're not doing a very good job staying focused. That's partially my fault, mostly my fault. How can we loosen our need for control in all areas of our lives this week? So Kathy says self-confidence, understanding that everything will turn out the way it is supposed to. And maybe it's also about letting go of some of that paranoia, because the paranoia or the fear of what's to come may cause us to try and cling tighter and to control more things to prevent certain things from happening, right? That's usually the whole concept. It's like preventing the worst from happening is why we try to control everything, to oversimplify it, right? So maybe it's letting go of some of that paranoia. It doesn't mean that we can't be aware of what's happening and prepared for what we need to go through, and maybe even recognizing the journey that we've been on so far. What have we learned, right, in getting to this night, in going through what we've going through, taking those lessons, but without letting the fear sort of drive us forward, which is often another thing that control can be a result of, right? Let me see what else you guys have to say here. So Donna says, give yourself permission to relax your defenses. Chris says, what is inside the lantern? Sorry if that's been covered and I was daydreaming. We didn't really cover it, so let me give you a close-up look at the lantern there. Let me see if I can get on her face because it usually focuses better. There we go. But why are we glitching there? I don't know what's in there. And I don't know why it gets out. Was it getting glitchy like that for you guys when I showed that up close? It was like flashing on the screen really funny. Let's see. Jack says, let down your defenses a little. Jonathan, letting go of the paranoia and let yourself push forward after a good rest. Emily, realizing that no matter who we are in this meat flesh, we are all human and fallible. And even with so much knowledge and understanding, we still need to surrender to the universe or divine. And we're just not going to be able to control everything, because the one thing we can't control is anything outside of us, right? So recognizing that we can only turn and change ourselves to make change happen outside of us is really going to have to be our focus. Donna says, climb down from that cliff. Emily, I like that a lot. Giving ourselves the space and grace and forgiveness. Susie says she can shapeshift to what she wants to be, right? So if we bring that directly into play with this card, right, she can change her form in order to deal with whatever it is she needs to deal with. Emily says, yes, we can do the inner work, the shadow work. Chris says, I'm learning to embrace. Where did it jump? Okay, my daydream, Simon, that's where I figure things out. Yeah, interesting. When you let your mind relax, right? What you can solve. Regina says she's in motion, making me think of the phrase, leave the past behind. T-Cat says to accept that some things are not ours to control. Control sets expectations, so when you have done your very best, leave the rest to the universe. Julie says it's about making a decision to change. Sandra used to get in trouble at school for daydreaming. All right, so that was awesome. So now we're talking about the concept of daydreaming, which is cool. All right, let me put that over there. All right, the next one I have, probably going to take us in a different direction. I have the Next World Tarot. Now, last time I used this deck and played it, I only had the pocket version, but I have since managed to snag myself a copy of the big version. It's still the mass market edition, but it should be easy for us to look at, which I will like. And I really like this deck because it brings the real world into the tarot quite a bit. All right, let's move that over there, that over there. Okay, so here's the Nine of Wands, by the way, for those who haven't seen it, in the Next World Tarot. So this is different, I think. Let's take a look. All those guitars. Now I do have the book, so I'll be interested maybe to read the artist's interpretation of this particular version of the card. She looks happier, notes Oliver, right? Leanne says, I love this version. Love this deck, says Shane. Or Elle loves this deck. Yes, I know. Let's see. Any thoughts on this? So what do you think about the idea? You know, as we know, oftentimes the wands can represent creativity and passions and things like that. So perhaps is this really just embracing how passionate she is about music, and she has all these different guitars? Jonathan says they don't look defensive and look more relaxed, right? A magical music expression of being, says Kathy. Sandra, this deck is fab. Yes, it is. Chris says, I like that all the guitars are different, although this one on the end, is that a banjo? I think so. And my little brother, who I saw for the first time in about 6 years yesterday, plays the banjo. And we were talking about that. I'm like, what made you interested in that? Like, as a young person today, I feel like people don't pick up the banjo. And he's just like, I just always thought it was really cool. So she's creating a new tune, living by her own beat of her drum, says Elle. Elizabeth says, very relaxed. Patrice, using music to speak out on issues, right? So maybe she's in the battle, but doing it through music and poetry and those things, right? Neem says, I just didn't get on with the Next World Tarot. That happens. Let's see. It's a banjo that has an act up sticker, right? You know, all the little Easter eggs you can find in this deck. There are so many. Am I buffering for anyone else? Oh, I hope not. Emily says, what if she made one album and now she's making the second, and it's a lot, right? Or the ninth, right? Yeah. Electric guitars need an amp. Is there one? Huh. Maybe she's strumming along and not making any sound. I don't know. Psychic Lear says maybe she had to use all those different types of guitars instruments to find the one she really likes or is best suited for. Lots of options, says Jax. Thought it was an electric guitar, says Simon. This one here on the end. Yeah, it might be. Regina says, feels like learning from mistakes and continuing with strength and lessons learned. Okay, good. Not buffering in most places. Let's see. No buffering in Oxfordshire. That's good. Isn't there an amp behind her? It does kind of look like an amp right here, right? Is that what you're kind of thinking? Maybe as the amp. Notice here we do have a keyword on this version. Resilience. So you want me to, let's read from the book, because then we can learn more about the intention of this card, which I think will be really cool. So the 7, 9. Frankly, it starts, the Nine of Wands was tired of submitting to the twisted, misogynist, transphobic paradigm that drowned her creative energy. She took matters into her own hands and created a fortress of her own visionary appeal. With it came co-conspirators, collaboration, community, and magic. The Nine of Wands suggests that the obstacles of the community or work you believe in are unfair disadvantages. She urges you to fight against them, withstand the barrier, and stand up for everything you have worked toward. So was it you, Patrice, that was just saying, like, maybe she's speaking through her music? And I feel like sort of the artist's interpretation of that really supports that theory, right? So yeah, that's a really interesting way to look at that. So she's still standing her ground, or she's built the fortress. You know, we've talked about the Nine of Wands, building the fortress, and finding a way to speak out and keep going, but doing it in a way maybe that's safe for her or them, right? Donna says she's hanging out in a room by herself, not performing in public. Let's see. Joan Baez, Kathy, is that an artist that this reminds you of? Susie, Donna, exactly. I think electric guitars need to be amplified to be heard. So maybe she's still doing all this inner work and isn't yet projecting it outward. What is all over her and the place? Well, it looks like a glitter explosion happened. You know, it's like star. Am I back? Nope, not back yet. Let me try refreshing on my side too.